Thank you, Fiona. And good morning. Many of the socio-economic shifts that are driving change in manufacturing are well understood. You know, from the rise in the price of energy and materials, the shift in customer buying preferences towards paying per usage or paying per performance, the requirement for greater personalisation or faster access to customised goods, and of course the coming together of a number of things around increased labour costs in the Far East, reduced amount of labour actually for assembly because of automation and advanced robotics, increased cost around transportation, and the fact that customisation normally happens at the end of the manufacturing cycle. And these are sort of, it can be argued that it's taken us to this tipping point of a discussion around nearshoring or reshoring. But a couple of points I'd like to make for this session is, firstly, it's technology that is creating solutions that is enabling us to take advantage of opportunities that these shifts present us. Without secure mobile technology, BMW would not have been able to introduce a pay-per-the-minute self-serve car sharing scheme that could differentiate or compete with the incumbents in the market. Without an online experience and integration with manufacturing systems, I would not have been able to go onto the M&M's website and say, you know what, I just want red, white and blue M&M's in my bag shipped to me, and I want them printed with the Cisco logo and the RECODE launch event, right? Just wouldn't be possible. And the second point that I want to make is, if we refer to the definition from the EPSRC, I hope you see that actually all of these themes are very relevant for the redistributed manufacturing topic that we're here to discuss. One thing I would like to add is that I really hope this is a whole lot more than just another discussion around how can we cut cost out of manufacturing. That's obviously a discussion that we often see driving the nearshoring or reshoring topics, but I think it can be a whole lot more than that, and I very much hope that that is what helps this network stand out on its own. And let me give a brief example from Cisco. This is a Cisco UCS product. It's a server. It sits in a rack in a data center, and it powers our IT applications and services. And this is Brazil. What is the link? Well, we shifted, or maybe I should say redistributed, part of our production of that product from China to Brazil just to satisfy market requirements in Brazil. So no export. We used it to meet delivery schedule and local custom build requirements for a market in cloud services that was forecast to boom in Brazil. So it wasn't just about moving from one low-cost area to the next. It wasn't about moving from one government tax incentive to the next. It was actually about us being able to capture a growing market opportunity in an adjacent industry for us. It didn't just stop there, actually, because we wanted to build upon our local manufacturing capability and presence. So what we did was we built an innovation ecosystem and centre, a little bit like this one you're in today, with our customers, with our partners, with startup businesses. We put a VC fund into place in order to look for adjacent opportunities, building on that capability. Traditionally, in Cisco, all our R&D was done in the US, in California. Not anymore. And I think this is an example that shows redistributed can have a disruptive effect way beyond just production. Okay, way beyond. I think what we looked well beyond just total delivered cost of our product. We very much focused on the type of service, experience, delivery within the local markets. And we looked at how we could develop incremental opportunity on top of that. And I think these are useful things that could form part of a thought process when looking at redistributed manufacturing strategies. I find that the innovation and the new services part particularly interesting. And I refer back to a second video actually that Cranfield put together before this session, and I encourage you to look at it on the website, which was looking at the cycle of a connected intelligent toothbrush. And what was interesting about that was the real incremental revenue opportunity came from the new services that they were able to introduce on top of a redistributed manufacturing platform, which made it particularly interesting. Now, I think it's fair to say that maybe when you look at those types of innovation examples, maybe it's not always necessary to redistribute the manufacturing part. But I think even regardless of that, it gives us an opportunity just to sort of stop for a moment, step back and look at our business models to almost with a, looking through the lens of redistributed principles. Is there a different way of operating our models with the new methods that could be available? Can we use it to challenge the status quo? And I think we may well be surprised at what we find. One area in which we've been working in this space is around the hypothesis that greater insight will lead to new business value. And this has been happening in other industries. Think about Rolls-Royce and what they've done with the real-time engine information to help them shift from a company that sells engines to selling power by the hour. How they've used that information to create new services for their customers, to optimize capabilities and processes such as maintenance, and to use that information through life to help make improvements for future design. Right? Now, what is to say that we can't do that across consumer goods markets as well, help drive new business models? What if every product in this sector was connected to the internet? What if they could start talking to us, start telling us how they were performing, how they were being used, are there any problems? How about a feeling, right? And also, what about the relationship between the product and its user, our end customers? What is the experience like? What can we learn from that? Of course, we need to look at, is that actually useful for redistributed manufacturing? Through questions like, can we use all this to optimize our value chain, create new services, get closer to our customers, use it to help create a better product design in our next generation? And of course, critically, does all this lead to business value in the end? Can we convert it to profitable growth? Again, these are the sorts of things that I'd expect we may include as part of any, when forming a redistributed manufacturing strategy. Just going back to the technology for the moment, Internet of Things is a platform that we believe can start helping to answer some of those questions that I've just been through. IoT, connecting the unconnected, being able to put all those products onto the internet. And not just for large, complex, expensive products. Take a look at this. Tiny. This is a fully functioning computer, okay? With memory, with storage, with processor, with wireless communications, with solar, with a thin film battery, and with embedded sensors. And the designers of this product are going to make it smaller and smaller. They've stated they're not going to stop until they can get this capability into a biological cell. Now, think about the possibilities with that sort of technology. This isn't just about instrumenting fully ready products. Think about the ingredients, the components, the materials, almost from source, being able to track that all the way through assembly, through to manufacturing, through to being after usage. I think there's a lot of possibility there. Not just from physical sensors like that. Think about all the information out there today through social media. Huge amounts, and that will continue. So we see IoT as a platform that is able to mine that also through what we call virtual sensors. IoT enables us to create unique digital identities on the internet for all of these physical objects. Now, such systems are going to be generating huge new volumes. In fact, one analyst has said that by 2024, 40% of all new data will be generated by physical sensors. And given that 90% of the world's data has been created in the last 2 years, big data continues to grow at an unprecedented rate. But as Fiona was stating earlier on, the real trick here is how do we harness that data? How do we take that data and extract it into value? How do we move from data to information to knowledge to wisdom? Because it's only as you move through that path that we can really start to capitalize on the value of it for our businesses. And the challenge here is it's actually quite difficult data these days. It's unstructured, it includes things like video, it's unpredictable, it's random, it's what we call noisy data. There's a lot of challenges here. Of course, this is where the technology around analytics comes in, and it has an extremely important role to play. I thought I'd just mention, given the challenges, two of the organisations that are actively involved with this network, Cisco and IBM, we recently formed the Industrial Internet Consortium, improving integration of the physical and the digital worlds, with very much a focus on access to big data to unlock business value. And of course, the two organisations will be sharing relevant activities and information into this network from that activity. Redistributed suggests decentralised manufacturing as well, and for some, many would argue, well, isn't that just even more complexity already? Isn't that just an opportunity for a whole lot more things to go wrong, things to be lost, connections to be broken, organisations moving into chaos? And maybe. And again, I refer back to some of the Cranfield work that was done before this that stressed the importance of smarter connected value chains as a part of redistributed manufacturing moving forward, which talks about really instrumenting everything from materials to components to the products to the ecosystem around it, so storage, transportation, etc. So, and being able to capitalise upon that in order to dynamically reconfigure value chains and to ultimately improve the management of things like risk, supply, product experience. And I raise this because, again, I think this further stresses the importance of technologies such as Internet of Things, big data, and analytics moving forward. And just sharing another example in Cisco, how we've been capitalising some of this information. This is a Cisco IP phone, bit of an old one, end of life. And until recently, we didn't place a lot of focus on our end of life, our product end of life management process, probably because we didn't really understand if there was much value there. And it was quite difficult as well. You had to find the equipment, you had to decommission it, you had to take it out of the network, you have to ship it to a recycler. And for many, it was just far more easier and far simpler. Hey, we'll just go and sell a shiny new one like this and not worry about the old stuff, right? But we felt that actually, if we were able to access more information, which we didn't really understand about where it was, how it was being used, what sort of condition it was in, why it was being replaced, if we could access that information and analyse it, maybe there is value there, maybe we'll do something else. So we did it. And actually, on the back of that, we now have a remanufacturing and remarketing business that has been really successful. In fact, so successful, we now have a supply challenge. But the reason we have a supply challenge is that we were using our repair centres to bring in the equipment and to refurbish, remanufacture, and then ship back to the local markets to sell. The problem is that these repair centres, we only had two. There was one in China and one in the US, and we just couldn't get the equipment through fast enough. So what we've ended up doing was, based on that end-of-life insight, we're now looking at decentralising those repair centres into a number of local markets, expanding them into a remanufacturing capacity, which is leading to even more distribution and profitable revenue streams for us. So I think it's an interesting example how, based on new product information through life, and through life is important here because it's the end of life we were interested in, we've actually ended up basically embarking on redistributing part of our manufacturing, which I thought was quite interesting. Now, so two examples that from Cisco that sort of touch on redistributed manufacturing. Were these part of a grand master plan around our redistributed manufacturing strategy? No, unfortunately not. These happened in isolation, two very different parts of the business. They had a business problem, they looked for a solution, they addressed the problem, and they're creating new business opportunity out of it. But I can't help thinking, if you sort of stand back and you think, well, if we did have a holistic redistributed manufacturing focus and strategy, we're probably just scratching the surface with this. And I can't help thinking also that there must be many other organisations in this situation as well. And so this is why I'm really excited about this network, because I'm hoping these are the types of topics that we can discuss as a as a collection of experts. I'd like to summarise by saying that the product insight and through life we see as being a really important aspect of redistributed manufacturing. We think it's likely to be at the heart of the smarter value chains or supply chains that we believe are also of interest, and it will be technology driven. Big data, analytics, Internet of Things. We believe there's definitely potential out there for business growth, but it's not without its challenges. And I was thinking, for this network, what will be some of the key research challenges or questions that will be really helpful in order to start capitalising on that opportunity? And I thought I'd just share a few that were just top of mind for me. And as Fiona was saying, this is new space, so I'm sure there are lots of things we haven't even thought of so far. But the first one is around, just the topic of, should we actually do this? Well, maybe first of all, what does really decentralised manufacturing mean for our business, for our industry, for our partners? And how do we even work out if it's appropriate for us? It's not necessarily straightforward even to work out what the factors are that we need to consider. How do we measure performance? How do we work out what the business case was and what would the likely value would be? This is probably a first call for all of us. The second one is, we talked about getting better levels of information around our products. Now, as soon as people perceive there being value in that data, people will start to claim ownership of it and want a piece of the value. We've seen this in other industries, and it can be a messy scenario. So I think being able to consider issues around, ownership, value, IP, governance around the information and the value that's likely to come out of these value chains, I think it is an important one. The second one, security and privacy, I think is probably quite an obvious one, and I'm hoping we can, from the start, move towards win-win type propositions to help address, potential blockers along the way. And then, I've talked a lot about technology and stressed that I see this as being critical for moving this topic forward, but how do we deal with it? How do we actually get our hands around that to make sure the technology really is in place, that we're able to adopt it, the various partners, the customers in the ecosystems are happy to adopt it and engage with it. So this is sort of just top of mind, and I'm hoping also these are the sorts of things that you can bear in mind as we move through the day to the workshops. So thank you, and good luck with the workshops, and look forward to them. Thank you.